Before we get into this, I'd like to give a big thank you to Lovely for being so diligent in his research. Without his 3 years of devotion, this video would not exist, so once again, huge thank you to Lovely. Warning. This video contains mentions of drug abuse, racism, and images that aren't safe for work or children. These things will be brought up for the sake of context and evidence purposes. This story also contains a lot of Discord DMs, so bear with me. I will be reading the important ones to you. This is Gary's mod. Gary's mod is a simple game with a simple explanation. Half-Life 2, CS Source, Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and both Portal games all run on the same game engine, Valve's staple, Source. Gary's mod runs on Source as well, but not in the same way. Gary's mod is a stripped-down version of Source, turned into a form of sandbox or creative mode, with assets from other Source games available, as well as having a fully open community workshop where players can post their own creations. Playing single-player Gary's mod results in an absolute mess, really. I've only ever come here to see if I can get the new admin gun working, or to see how crazy I can make this tactical slide. Truthfully, I've spent most of my time here, and more specifically here. Trouble in Terrorist Town is a unique type of game. It 100% is a social game.
Super ID those bodies, bro.
But it's also a puzzle game, a movement shooter, a gambling site. But the point is, it's hard to label TTT. But what even is it? Alright, here's the premise. Imagine 10 people playing a game. At the start of the game, roles are given out to designate how each player should play the game. Out of 10 people, there will be 7 innocents, 1 detective, and 2 traitors. So let's say you spawn in, and in the bottom left it says innocent. As an inno, only you can see your role, just as you can't see anyone else's role. The goal for the traitors, however, is to try and eliminate all innocents and detective players without getting found out or running out of time. Yes, Among Us stole this entire concept. The innocents must watch their back, because if they find themselves alone in the wrong place, it could be the end. But those with sharp eyes can spot suspicious behavior and alert the other innocents of traitor-like behavior. If the innocents kill all traitors before time runs out, they win. So that's vanilla TTT. It's a little complicated when being explained, but it's an easy game to get into a groove with. But I didn't make this video to talk about vanilla TTT, or really even TTT at all. What happened to this game could happen to any other, and in fact it's not the first game to have a situation like this. The game I'm talking about is moat.gg, Trouble in Terrorist Town. Moat TTT is a modified version of TTT allowing for an inventory system. This inventory allowed guns with special perks such as Fractured, which allowed the gun's bullets to do up to 25% more damage to limbs. The inventory system allowed these guns to be stored in mass, and the guns with good perk combinations were super overpowered. Of course, this made these guns valuable, so most specifically used a currency called IC, in-game currency. You got it from here and there, but the point is, there's an economy here. And loot crates, and gambling, and millionaires, and scandals, and scams. There's an active ecosystem. These attributes led to people coming to these servers in waves to play a game so grindy and so heartbreaking it can make Destiny 2 cry. Obviously, I'm here to talk about Moat because it's not around anymore. I'm making this video as well to give closure to some players and inform others of a game that I loved. Moat lasted 3 years, but the seeds of collapse were sown early. I've said Moat quite a few times already, but Moat is named after the owner, but it also sometimes refers to the game itself, so listen for the context. Moat, or sometimes Motato, and sometimes a million other things, his real name is out there, but we're just gonna call him Moat. I'm not sure his official age, but I think it's safe to say that he was around 17 at the time. That's pretty wild. 17 and running one of the biggest Gmod servers there is. Of course, he had help, but never consistently. Staff complained about Moat for years, and there was always a revolving door of staff going through. There are many phases of this story, and I think it's time to get into our first one. There were many incidents leading up to the first major fault. The many minor problems that popped up simply added to the distrust that admins had for Moat. Early in the server's life in mid-2017, Moat was pretty peaceful, but the first thing that happened was Moat got catfished by a man posing as a woman, and Moat ended up giving her administrative powers over the server network. These powers allowed her to ban people, wipe people's inventories, and much more. Many of the early admins stepped up to call him out on his shit, but in general, this planted the seed of distrust. It would be a whole 2 years later before those seeds would sprout. We're gonna skip ahead to early 2019 now, and I know out of a 4-year history, 2 years is kind of a big jump, but nothing really important happened in this period of time that really had anything to do with the fall of the server. So, in February of 2019, Moat approaches a 17-year-old girl and asks if he could buy her nudes when she turns 18. This is where the pedophilia and grooming allegations come from, but I hesitate to call it such as he was 19 at the time. It's similar to the Call Me Carson situation, and in some cases maybe not as bad. I don't approve of it, but if you want to defend it, I won't stop you. The problem here wasn't the action itself, it was that he gave people a reason to not like him. If you get banned and you hear that Moat is a pedophile, and well, now you feel justified. Now your hatred can be placed in an origin point and focused. As more and more events unfold, there starts to be a discussion among current admins about Moat's ability to manage a team. Moat expected his team to, quote-unquote, read his mind, as Meepin said. Communication was not strong among the team. In June 2019, Meepin is made community lead. It is my understanding that he was made lead to try and get some of the old staff to return. Most admins, if they did leave, it was because they were sick of Moat, the dude. All of the sudden, events pretty much happened out of nowhere, and the severity seemed to continue to get worse. A big perspective shifter is Moat would make a post on the community forum admitting to his abuse of Adderall. The reason I find this detail so important is because when you step back, you have a 19-year-old amphetamine addict with a platform. This was bound to go wrong from the start. As Moat developed a habit for making private matters public, he would continue to be forced down the spiral that would eventually lead to him losing his servers forever. In July 2019, a female player whose name I won't say had her MVP role revoked. MVP is a role that very few get that signifies veterancy among the community. It can only be given up by staff. Moat, the owner of course, didn't like this, and it is widely considered that Moat did this because of some infatuation with the girl. This would later be proven when screenshots of the staff Discord leaked showing Moat saying some pretty damning things. These comments were honestly not very surprising. By the time they came out, it had been 2 years of Moat that the community had to deal with, so by then he wasn't well liked already. But now with comments showing he truly doesn't care about his community, it was enough to make those who were unaware mad and those who were previously mad vocal. On top of that, the statement shows how disposable staff appear to be in Moat's eyes. This would result in a shortage of staff in the future, because of a lack of interest in the position. Moat then holds a Q&A for the community. Why? Perhaps he felt like he could redeem himself if he answered concerns and criticisms honestly. The problem here is that he avoided almost every question that actually criticized him. Lovely himself wrote a post criticizing Moat's management of the creative team. He explained how they were cut off from the other developers. There was barely any communication going on between them as they didn't have any access to developer chat. Lovely had expressed his disappointment with Moat's lack of clarity when he handed Moat a recent logo project that he had just finished up. The community loved his work, but Moat refused to use it on the pretense that it didn't work, despite already sending him the money for the finished product and expressing his comfort with the design. As this type of behavior became routine, Lovely realized Moat wouldn't use most of his artwork in the game. And so with that, Lovely left. He started a blog anonymously, as he felt the community should know all that happened behind the scenes, and just how unhinged Moat was and how that affected everyone. About a month later, Moat is back at it with singling someone out. Only this time he's banning someone. His personal reason for this ban is lost as far as the research I can do, but I do know that it was widely disapproved of by staff. Meepin, who at the time was community lead, and also coincidentally one of Moat's hardest working staff, decides to unban this player. When Moat realizes that Meepin had done this, he proceeded to ban Meepin. When the community got wind, it was a call to action. Staff and players alike began deconstructing and selling millions and millions of IC, cleaning out their inventories and kicking rocks, backpedaling to never be seen again. Moat lost his entire staff team. Most of his admins, almost half of his mods, and some trial staff even had enough. Meepin had left to later on be the creator of Pluto.gg, a similar yet original version of the game. There was a huge intervention in the Pluto.gg Discord with Moat as the centerpiece. People rambled to him about how his habits and his drug use negatively affected the community. He deflected all the criticism with some heebie-jeebie spiritualism bullshit that really no one could understand. At this point, he was so far gone that no one really had any hope for him.
Alert! The enemy has taken our intelligence.
Ready? Go! This is some Moat thoughts right here. I'm in reality. I saw colors. They manipulated me with colors. Y'all are looking at it as an issue. That's not me as an issue. It's just me releasing my insecurities and just looking at it as an art. I'm not shifting blame. It's me as an artist.
I know this seems like a lot, but we're still in 2019, and Moat would be back again to harass Malk. Once Malk was given the moat.gg Discord, he was pretty much harassed by Moat out of the community. This resulted in Malk leaving the Discord to be inherited by Velkon. Not a week later, Moat was then caught sexually harassing the same girl that we will not name. I'm not going to show many of the pictures, one, because I don't want to sift through dick pics this afternoon, and two, the important thing is that you know that these kinds of things were sent. Keep in mind that this woman is in a relationship at this time, and everyone including Moat knew this. Rumors say that Moat spent close to 15 grand on this girl by the time this whole saga would end. After one rejection, Moat would quickly move to another girl. He basically did the exact same thing he did to the previous girl, except she blocked him very early. This resulted in a @everyone post in the Discord by Moat talking about the situation. And then Velkon up and left the dev team. He's a triple OG, that dude's been with the Moat servers for a long time. Velkon leaving Moat would be a very important event later on in the story. But for now, Velkon would give Leo ownership of the Discord. This was both a good and bad move. Leo is a well-trusted member of the staff team, but this also puts a target on his back. Moat saw this target and proceeded to harass him, ban staff, blackmail staff, and break the forums enough to force Leo to give him Discord ownership back. This would cause the Seuss and Leo to finally officially leave. The events of October transcended both video games and the internet. What we're getting into next is real life. In October of 2019, Moat would get checked into a mental health and treatment center. The reason I want to hark on this point so hard is because not 2 months prior to Moat going to a psych ward, yes, yours truly, Super, was sent to one as well. I don't want to make this story personal at all, but I do want to say this. When this story was really seeing the light of day, I was already in rehab. And hearing about Moat going through treatment, I'm not gonna lie, seeing Moat do it too, gave me some confidence. Moat was checked into his treatment center for help, but in the end it would lead to yet another loss. Remember how Moat had sexually harassed some women in the past? Well, one of those girls' partners now had ownership permissions of the Discord. Apparently Moat had given him away while he was in the psych ward. My guess is Moat gave ownership to this girl as some kind of apology. But of course, this gamer just passed it right to her boyfriend. As Moat reintegrated into the community, it became obvious that it really hadn't changed at all. When XD found out about this, he decided to do something very drastic. And I mean, very drastic.
But I am at peace. I understand what must be done. Will you be my kaishakunin? It is my honor.
The events preceding this final stretch have all led us to where we are in this story, but the next 6 months will surely contain the death, funeral, and cremation of the moat.gg server network. Arguably, one of the most damaging events to happen to moat.gg would be the 2019 Christmas wipe. The Moat servers would experience a serious glitch that wiped everyone's inventories. That might not sound that bad, but me and everyone else lost thousands of hours of inventory building. Moat tried to claim it to be a virus that the previous devs used to attack the server, however no proof of this has ever been given. Moat refused to acknowledge the severity of this bug and instead calls it a visual glitch. Moat addresses the community by telling everyone to submit compensation reports. These are applications to be compensated for the lost items. Initially, the community was relieved, but when we all realized that there were thousands of items that needed comping, we all gave up on the idea of regaining what we lost. Only a week later, Moat would DDoS Meepin's Pluto.gg server network, claiming that he had stolen the Moat Steam group from him. In reality, it was Velkon who had taken ownership of the Steam group. Just after New Year's, Moat is still trying to grasp at any kind of control that he can. He contacts Steam support in an effort to get ownership of his Steam group back, but it didn't go too great. Moat then begins to neglect his servers. As they become more and more unstable, they begin to start shutting down randomly. The servers would stay in this kind of state until the closure of moat.gg. In March of 2020, Moat commits what I consider to be the most heinous act yet, and of course it would be directed at none other than Meepin. Moat shows Meepin that he has his social security number. Meepin filed a police report with his local sheriff department, and it seems this scared Moat off, as this would be the last time he would contact Meepin. If you are not familiar with Gary's mod, I'm sure you're confused on the name. I can hear you screaming, "Who the hell is Gary?" through your monitor right now. Gary Newman is obviously the creator of Gary's mod, and as such, he has many administrative powers over the game. This is the server browser, a very friendly UI advertising only the best Gary's mod experiences. However, these are not the only servers available. If you travel down to the Legacy browser, it will show all the servers, including what is known as blacklisted servers. Eventually, the Moat community bothered Gary in the official Gmod Discord enough that he was forced to do something. For several months, Meepin had been trying to get in contact with Gary to do something about Moat's constant ping spoofing. For those who don't know, ping spoofing is a side effect of the Moat server DDoS protection. It allows the server to always stay at the top of the server list no matter the location of the player, as the ping of each server changes to the lowest possible ping no matter your location. This ability was allowed through Moat's server host, GMC Hosting. This is against Facepunch's terms of service. Gary said Moat had one day to fix the ping spoofing issue, but of course, Moat was already deep into his neglect of the servers, so nothing was done in the allotted time. The moat.gg server network was then blacklisted and taken off the front page of the Trouble in Terrorist Town server list. Moat then kinda fell off the map for a little while, only coming back to show the world just how unhinged he'd become. Nowadays, his IRL life is largely unknown. On the positive side, it turns out Velkon had downloaded the server code before he left about a year prior. He then used the code to start his own server running the same inventory system. His servers are still going strong today, despite what Terra.gg has to say about it. A month later, Moat would make a tweet saying that he's done with Trouble in Terrorist Town, and he then follows that up with the release of the server's code in November. A user in the Gmod community used the code Moat had linked to his Discord to crash the Discord server, and now the Discord itself remains in limbo, inaccessible by anyone. The servers are then officially shut down, and we are at the end of moat.gg Trouble in Terrorist Town, and this is where we stand today. Regardless of the owner, legal trouble, invasion of privacy, and sexual harassment, I really do have to admit that these servers gave me some of the best times during a low point in my life. No matter what you think of Moat, you can't deny that what was made could easily be considered the best TTT experience to grace Gary's mod. The memories I have from Moat are held close to my heart, and if you feel the same way, I'd love to hear your story. Happy, sad, funny, mean, anything. I think by telling your stories you will realize just how important Moat really was to us at the time. As flawed as the man was, he was a part of something great, and for that, I'm thankful. Thank you, Moat. And thank you to everyone who made moat.gg moat.gg.
I'm a little hot nigga in a steamer, nigga. Round with that Nina Serafina, nigga. Bro wanna put 30 in it, I'm like, I don't need it, nigga. You tweaking, nigga. What the fuck is much? I ain't seen them, nigga. Tell them, nigga. All that shit you talk, you ain't mean it, nigga. B, roll that shit up, boy, that shit reeking, nigga. When we roll up your ass, you smoked if you tweaking, nigga. They gon' have to find you like Nemo. I just came from down there with chemo. Hello. It's on the back. I get on your ass.